Do you being inshore? Do you use a lot of electronics, like a lot of sonar, any of that stuff?
Funny you say that. I actually do a lot of offshore fishing. I was actually offshore 90 miles yesterday. I
Oh,
do a lot
okay.
of both, man. A lot of both. A lot of crazy stuff too. We just went to Louisiana and caught three 200-pound swordfish in a bay boat.
Oh, wow.
We do all
Dang.
we do anything we can do, right? Like we
Yeah.
last yesterday we were catching grouper and snapper and yellowtail snapper 90 miles off in a bay boat. We were having a lot of fun. So I don't just stick to the inshore. That's just where I guide, right? The YouTube I do it all over.
Right.
I mean, I just love the fishing in the outdoors. But I lost your question. What was your question again on that one?
I was just going into like what kind of like electronics and how you really
Oh yeah,
use those to kind of dial in. But I mean, it could go either way. Like we can talk about offshore stuff. We can
no,
talk about inshore stuff. I mean, you can use electronics, both. But I don't know how much of a part of your game is in the electronics and using that tool.
so it wasn't a big part of my game till recently, and I'll tell you the
Okay.
story behind it. I work with a company called Striker Gear, clothing line company, and they invited me up to go ice fishing because that's their roots. This
Okay.
last winter, I went up there and I saw live scope, and I saw all these active target where they're literally video gaming these fish. I made a phone call to Simrad while I was there and had this thing sent down to be installed in my boat.
Wow.
It's a game changer. Definitely on the reefs, definitely on the tarpon. Um, the electronics. The more I'm getting into it, the more it is a game changer. I'm learning stuff about the fish, seeing a move, seeing things that I never saw before.
Mm.
The other thing I love about electronics these days, and I run Simrad, so I can't speak for others. I've had Simrads and low ranch just for a long time. Um, One thing I can say about them is they have so much data in them now outside of that, right? So I run a ton of chips. I run Seymour Mapping, Florida Marine Tracks. I got all the chips in them too, but they got all the tides built in exactly the
Yeah.
location I'm at. They have just so much data that I can read off that screen. Like I don't look at a tide chart anymore like the day before. I can go out there and I can see exactly where I'm
Live.
at, where it's at live, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many advantages to these electronics. Everything we did offshore yesterday was completely electronic and card based, and I think, and we'd fished spots that we'd only fished one ever before, and I think we ended up with 60 something fish offshore.
Wow.
Incredible. We found scant grouper spots that we never knew of, and that came off the strike line cards. They have hard bottom cards, and there's just so
Mm-hmm.
much. So yeah, I definitely think it plays a key role these days. Not just the electronics, but all the cards that you can access to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
Definitely.
that's my main thing. Like, and like I said at the beginning, I'm not. You fish every day. I'm not the biggest fisherman. I never claim to be that, but like that's one thing that I always use a lot is like whether I'm using Garmin, Simrad, whatever, is the user data, and you can go in there and get other information and get the tide charts wherever
That's
you
so
are.
cool.
Like you go 40 miles down the islands or wherever down another area, and boom, you can pull up because that changes by area. And I don't think, a lot of people don't really think about that. Like, let's say, for me, I'm being in the Keys a lot is where I was a lot. And, the tide may be at something in Key Colony or Marathon, but you go down to Bay of Honda, you go down to, Big Pine, it's completely different. You could have a 3 foot difference between, a 45-mile stint based on how the water's going into the islands, it's incoming, it's outgoing. Like, that changes drastically just in as you're out there. So being able to pull that up, that's something I've always been like, you know I use that a lot. So that's funny that you say
Yeah.
that, and being somebody that knows how to fish.
It changed the game for me because, like, if I'm waiting on the tide, right? We're waiting on the tide for something. We can
Hmm.
wait there and watch it one tenth at a time. Oh, there it goes. It's moving now. And like,
Hmm.
we literally know what we got going on.
Yeah.
You're 100% right with that, man. That's a game changer because the tide, like you said, on by the point 4 miles away, it's a different point. So when you get over there, am I at high tide or am I still coming up over there? You don't
Hmm.
have to go
Yeah.
study the water, and that goes back to your point of like talk about studying the water. Probably why I don't own as much. I got all this data coming in everywhere, all over the screens. Like I'm not really, looking at that anymore like I used to. And I didn't really get dialed into that till I got to Florida because in Louisiana I had grown up in those waters and I don't even need it to
Hmm.
run around those marshes. I can run anywhere and kind of see what's going on. But man, it's definitely changed the game for me, especially these
Hmm.
chips. These chips are unbelievable that they're making now.
Yeah. So how do you really use that? Like, are you looking at contours, or are you looking at, just straight imagery, or like, what are you really looking at? Like, what's something that you see that's like, oh, there's going to be fish in this, hold up in this area or something like that. How do you do that?
So like different companies have different cards, right? And I've kind of learned them all. The Florida Marine Tractor is great for running around, seeing all the bars, right? They got all the sandbars marked out, all the oyster bars. When I'm trout fishing, I can see right where the bars, or even tarpon fishing if I'm fishing on the edge. I can set up
Mm-hmm.
right off of it, cast right off of it. I know where that contour line is instead of driving over it, seeing the different height, and having to figure it
Mm-hmm.
out and mark it. But then when you get offshore, like yesterday, use that as an example. Our trip yesterday, we used strike lines, and they have a hard bottom chip. And all we did was go to the big areas of hard bottom and drift it, looking for grouper, and
Mm.
caught our grouper like that. And I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
slow pitch jig guy lately, so I'm just jigging and fishing it, and we end up whacking huge groupers, and had a blast doing it. Um, and then when you got the Seymour card, if I'm out fishing hogfish or anything like that, they got all the shelves. So literally, I can go in there and
Mm.
go set up on the shelf, and I can see which way the shelf runs. As where before, I was using, because I have all that different stuff. I have side scan too, right? I have to ride that
Okay.
thing, find side scan, find which way the shelf faces. Now that I can upload a chip in there, I can see that exact shelf, fish different spots on the shelf, and
Mm-hmm.
catch fish. So it definitely, and then the live scope, that's a whole nother conversation. That thing's incredible, and I think that's just getting started. I can see what species is down there, what they're doing. I mean, that's
Oh,
absolutely
really?
incredible. Yeah, I can make out a grunt from a mangrove and everything else on it now. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Not a lot of guys have played with it yet, and we haven't talked much about it in our YouTube videos because we're still learning it. But in the next year or
Okay.
two, I'm gonna have a lot of data on that, a lot of stuff coming out on that.
How you want to talk about that at all? Like, kind of like get into some of that, or
Like just to give you an example, like I have two screens on my boat, right, and they're
yep.
side by side. If you turn on my sonar, regular sonar, and we're sitting on a piece of structure that I can see on the side scan, and I can see 12 fish swimming around it. Not side scan,
Mm-hmm.
on my active target too. You can see the structure on active target two, see 6, 7 fish swimming around it, and you go look at the sonar, and there's nothing. It's just a blank screen. Yeah, I just think it's the scope of it and the way it's pinging. I don't know much about the technology what's in it. I
Right.
know it was
Yeah.
military technology at one point, but it's absolutely incredible.
Hmm.
The other day we're fishing on one of the reefs, and all of a sudden we're bottom fishing, and I see two cobia come across it up high. Well, I put out flat lines, hooked one of them. Like I would have never
Wow.
known that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, as soon as I see them fish swimming up high, I'm like, well, I don't know if it's cobia or kingfish, but we're gonna put out a line and find out.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's so dialed in, but it's still. The more I talk to those guys over there, it's still in the early phases. They're talking about coming out with it
Mm-hmm.
for 500 feet and all. I mean,
Oh,
it's going to open up a
wow.
whole other world for us out there at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, because that's deep. Now you're talking about your bottom fishing and your downriggers and stuff to be able to get down there and do. Now, how do you tell the different species? Is it just based on like
Size and movement.
size and movement?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm starting, and the way
Okay.
they school and what they're doing. And like I said, it's all new to me. I've only had it in the boat 4 months.
Okay.
So, but about the beginning of the year, January, February, they put it in the boat. But I'm super highly impressed that everybody who sees it, whether it's customer or YouTuber, they're like, "This is game changing." Like,
Yeah.
all the YouTubers tell me, "You better keep this quiet for a little while. Keep that quiet for a little while. This thing's game changing." But um,
Yeah.
like I said, it's going to take me a year or two to really understand it. But I saw those freshwater guides up in those lakes when we went ice fishing, and I was highly impressed by the technology.
Hey there, sorry to take you away from the video, but real quick, did you know that on average a boat owner will spend between $1,000 and $5,000 a year just on servicing their engine? And you could actually pocket and save a lot of that money if you would just do the service yourself. It might seem like a daunting task, but I guarantee you virtually everyone can do it with our guidance and the Boaters program. This is just one skill that you could learn inside the program because we have hundreds of other videos teaching you all kinds of boating skills, as well as a weekly live stream where we have questions and answers with me, as well as a chat feature where you can send videos and pictures, ask all kinds of questions, or look for some advice or some guidance on a project that you're doing on your boat. You can join the program by hitting the first link in the description, clicking join, or visiting bornagainboating.com. Now back to the video.